What's a K-shaped economy?
It's definitely not my girlish figure, but we're gonna tell you coming up here on the Undercurrent. What? See, because K is kind of skinny in the middle, and I am not.
Mm.
I'm
Gotta
a
hit the
bit
gym.
I'm a bit of a big boy.
Well, you could be swimming against the undercurrent.
I love me some sandwiches too much. Sandwich in my belly, in my big old belly. Good morning to you. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. How you doing, Uncle Warren?
I'm all right. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO shows watching us over there
All
on the old
right.
channel there. What's up, Chuck? Up, Chuck. You hear that? See that? That's an old joke. So if your name was Chuck, someone would say, "What's up, Chuck?" like you were throw up or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on with you? How you doing?
Been busy with work. A lot of
Yeah.
stuff with work. Yeah, we got a new podcast where I'm working, and I'm hosting that and getting all that going. So it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool. And you've been in the Halloween spirit, Uncle Warren.
That's right. I got my boys back here from Saturday night. I brought them back. They were so much fun when we did the secret show Saturday night.
Did you see that The Last of Us jack-o'-lantern that I shared on social media? This person did a jack-o'-lantern, and they basically grew mushrooms inside. So various mushrooms are poking out through the mouth and the eyes of the jack-o'-lantern. I think it was the creepiest jack-o'-lantern I've ever seen in my life.
What's ultimately creepy about that is the fact that that's an actual real thing with the that fungus can get in your brain and do that to you.
Oh, have you ever seen those insects that have been taken over by the fungus? Like they're dead insects, but they're animated by the fungus to spread the spores.
Yeah, they turn them into zombies, and they're just like, do my bidding. They take them over to the hive or whatever, or take them back to the thing, and then those things explode, and then spores go everywhere, and they grow more mushrooms.
It is really creepy. Yeah, Marietta, good to see you in there. Yeah, this jack-o'-lantern is so creepy. Then learning that this is, that's nothing compared to what fungus can actually do.
Yeah, talk about there's a fungus among us. Ooh, it really is. That's some nasty stuff. Because somebody with all the stuff that's going on, all the crazy weird illnesses and stuff that people are having these days, that's where we're heading to, is fungus brains. We say it colloquially, but now we probably have to say it literally with some people. So
well, I've heard doctors talk about this and say that fungal medicine, like treating fungus, is really difficult. It's not like viruses or bacteria. It's a totally different something or something. So yeah.
Yeah, stay away from the fungus, y'all.
Yeah.
All right, we got stuff to do. We got business at hand here. So let's get to the riptide here. What do we got here? So we got hurricane stuff going on down in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a hot mess down there. Hurricane Melissa live updates for you. We'll get to a live map here in just a second, but let's get to this. So what do we know right now? Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Cuba this morning as an extremely dangerous Cat 3 hurricane. The National Hurricane Center in Miami said it's now a Category 2 storm. It made landfall near the city of Chivirico in the Cuban province of Santiago de Cuba, with sustained winds of 120 miles per hour. Melissa made landfall in Jamaica as a Category 5 yesterday. That's the biggest storm I think that nation has faced in modern times.
Yeah.
Around 1 p.m. Eastern yesterday. Like I said, it's the strongest hurricane in the island's history. Prime Minister Andrew Holness declared the country a disaster area, with St. Elizabeth Parish reported to be underwater. The storm was the most powerful of this year's Atlantic hurricane season, and one of the strongest hurricanes to make landfall in the Atlantic basin. Yeah, this thing got up to like 185 miles an hour. It's crazy. At least 7 hurricane-related deaths have been reported across the Caribbean, 3 in Jamaica and Haiti, and 1 in the Dominican Republic. The 3 people in Jamaica died in accidents during preparations. The
Ooh.
storm is also expected to bring heavy rain to the southeast Bahamas, with 5 to 10 inches of rain possible and flooding likely. Yeah, so this is where this is just kind of like an animation of it, just kind of, and it's crazy. They had well, here's some of the aftermath right here. I think we'll do this. Ooh.
Wow.
That's yeah, that's a little loud. I couldn't control the volume on that for some reason, but uh yeah, so and it's your basic, if you've seen hurricane damage in the south, you've seen that before. It's chainsaws, sandbags, the whole 9 yards, and even then, you run the risk of all these this flash flooding that goes on in various areas where levees don't exactly hold up to that amount of water.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like right now. This is you can check this yourself, folks. Zoom.earth. I highly recommend Zoom.earth if you're looking for just like regular satellite images of weather patterns and stuff. Very good. I use it on my other shows. And this is it right here. Right now, like I said, it's a category 2, still pretty dangerous at 100 miles per hour. And this is the path it took. So yesterday it made landfall here as a Cat 5. And just so you know what landfall means, that means in case you don't know, when the eye of the hurricane reaches landfall, that's when they say it's hit land. And obviously the feeder bands outside have been pummeling, has been doing a lot of damage on shore already, but that's what they consider to be, to landfall. So, and then it crossed here to Cuba, here to the eastern side, and it looks like it's going to be heading up towards northeastern Canada here. But by the time it gets up here, it's going to be considered a tropical storm. And these waters up here are cooler. They're a lot cooler, so they're not able to feed a hurricane as much. But look at this. Even up here, as it's still going to be considered a tropical cyclone at 65 miles per hour. That's still pretty crazy. So
then there's the aftermath. I mean, there's you talk about the flooding, and then there's the aftermath. You've got mold and animals and pathogens, and it's just not. It's going to be a rough recovery. Places like Jamaica, they rely on tourism for a lot of their economy, and that's going to be severely disrupted at this point.
Yeah, and so if you want to help out, this is Project Hope is trying to amass some funds to help the folks down in the Caribbean. There's Project Hope's mobilizing an emergency response team to deploy to Jamaica in the devastating aftermath of Melissa. And look how huge this thing is. That's just crazy. And they actually flew into the eye of the
I heard about that.
The hurricane hunters. They fly into the eye of the storm, and it's those guys are nuts. But then that's them and the storm chasers.
Yeah, I know.
The storm chasers are pretty bad. Here, let me I'm gonna put this this web address in the chat. If you can't if you can't donate, if you could share out the link. That's Hurricane Melissa from Project Hope is what that is there. So it's like we were talking off air. I've been through several hurricanes. I know, been there, done that, got the t-shirt blown off of me with 170 miles an hour winds. But, it's one of those things that's like when you live in areas like that, you have to be prepared. You have to You have a bug out bag in case you do have to evacuate, like they evacuated Eastern Cuba there. Fortunately for Eastern Cuba, though, because it had already Jamaica had already taken most of the bite out of it. I think it landed as a Category 2, which is nothing to sneeze at. That's still a
No.
bad
Yeah.
storm, especially in Cuba, where they've had like their power outages and
Yeah.
their grid down there's the power grid is very fragile as it is.
Yeah, it is. And as we were talking about before the show, when it comes to evacuations, yes, they're sometimes necessary, but disaster management professionals will tell you you do it as a last resort because the evacuation itself sets up all kinds of issues. And as you said, like in the Gulf states, they have separate routes and they're more prepared for evacuations, but evacuations are rough too.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't have the infrastructure already set up to get people evacuated, like I'd mentioned to you on the Gulf Coast, you have I-10, you have Highway 90, you have Highway 49, you have other northbound highways on either side of the Gulf Coast. So what happens in a case when they do declare a state of emergency down there and they do announce evacuations, those highways automatically become outlets from the coast. So you can't come back in from the north to the south. So that means it's just you have twice as many lanes for the cars to get out. And even then, you still have to get out early and safely because a lot of people wait till the last minute. And by then sometimes it's too late. That's what happened in Katrina when it hit the Gulf Coast. People didn't get out in time and they said, I'm going to ride it out. Just like, because they said, well, these hurricanes, they didn't know what kind of a monster this was going to be. And we're talking about a storm surge that came in about a mile into the Gulf Coast at the time, right? So the storm surge too is something you have to worry about, even if you're not near the actual winds and stuff. It's when that comes in, it's like it acts like a tsunami. Because you think about like if you're stirring a bowl of water, right? Like you got a spoon and you're stirring, it pushes that water out, right? And that's what that's doing. It's pushing that water out, and that's what causes a storm surge. So there's a lot of if you live on a coastal area, chances are your local officials should have those contingencies ready for storms and stuff like that, especially in major cities like in New Orleans. You definitely have those. You have to have those.
You have to have those.
Like Atlanta too, Houston to a certain degree too, because Houston's been blasted with hurricanes too, and they're not on the coast, but they're still a little way, just not far, relatively speaking, when it comes to a hurricane, especially how huge it is. So.
And it's difficult because a lot of times they're relying on employees and volunteers who themselves are being impacted. So it's a matter of getting those people into position, but they themselves can be hobbled by the conditions. So there's a lot of redundancies in these plans. I don't know if you've ever been down to the Office of Emergency Management in Chicago, Uncle Warren, but it's massive because for a city of that size, it's its own it's its own business just trying to keep this stuff managed. And even then, there are going to be hardships for people in Chicago when bad things happen. But again, my heart goes out to everybody who's being affected by this. This is awful.
Yeah, and hearts go out to those who are on the SNAP program too.
Oh,
yeah, that's with the government shutdown. For some reason, we can't fund SNAP, but we can spend $1 trillion on the military. That we're going to make sure we do that. So, but the states are fighting back, which is great. States sue Trump. The Trump administration suspending food benefits during the shutdown. 25. Is it 25 states? I think so.
It's expanding. I thought I heard 22, but that may have been.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely will expand. I mean, especially if you got this many states already doing it now, it's just a matter of time. Probably your mostly red states may not do that. Like,
although they're deeply affected, I want to say, first of all, I guess it's 1 in 8 people in the U.S. receive the SNAP. And I want to say something like 13% of the state that I'm in right now, Arkansas, and you can see the sky, Arkansas sky in my background here, are on it. And the red states probably aren't going to do that because, of course, we know that the Huckabee family is very loyal to Trump. But this is wow, this is going to be a serious problem very quickly. People don't do well when they're not getting fed, or when their
Right.
children are not getting fed.
Yeah, exactly. Coalition of Democratic-led states sued the Trump administration yesterday, seeking to avert what will be a historic lapse in food aid for millions of Americans that's set to begin next week. Well, actually Sunday, November 1st, amid an ongoing government shutdown. The lawsuit represents a critical challenge to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's decision not to use $6 billion in contingency funds to pay for SNAP, also known as food stamps, which cost about $8 billion monthly. At stake is whether more than 41 million low-income Americans will receive their November benefits, which would mark the first time payments have lapsed due to a government shutdown in the program's 60-year history. And that goes to the fact that this is becoming the longest-running government shutdown in history itself.
Mm-hmm.
The federal government has the money to continue funding SNAP benefits. They're choosing to harm millions of families across the country already struggling to make ends meet. Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell said in a social media post about the lawsuit filed in Boston federal court by attorneys general and governors from 25 states in the District of Columbia. The case was assigned to U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani, who was appointed by Democratic former President Barack Obama. If I can speak today, she set a hearing for Thursday on whether to issue a temporary restraining order forcing the USDA to use available contingency funds for November SNAP benefits. The USDA shutdown plan had included the potential use of contingency funds for SNAP, but on Saturday, the department updated its website to say no benefits would be issued on November 1st as scheduled, stating the well has run dry. Well, the well has run dry. That's just kind of a dig into people that need those. It's like, there's always been this propaganda about how people are just like leeches on the system when they have this. And It's like they forget that this money that they spend on food, yes, they get the food, but then that money goes back into the local economy.
Yeah, it does. And it also, there's the question here of why are we tolerating the fact that, that we have a huge percentage of people in this country who need food assistance? Doesn't that speak to a failure in the economy, in the economic system?
Well, I mean, they always equate Wall Street as the economy. They try to get you to think that if Wall Street's doing good, then surely the economy's doing well. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you doing well? Right? That's the whole, but it's all smoke and mirrors. That's not even that. One's a casino and one's the actual functional thing that you and I use, right? So the lawsuit argues the suspension of benefits is arbitrary and being carried out in violation of the law and regulations governing the program, which requires that assistance under this program shall be furnished to all eligible households. The lawsuit, led by the attorneys general of Massachusetts, California, Arizona, and Minnesota, says the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008 makes clear that the contingency funds should be used when necessary to carry out program operations. So they do have $6 billion in contingency funds that they could use. The spokesperson for the Department of Agriculture in a statement said Senate Democrats are approaching an inflection point where they either hold out for the far left wing of the party or reopen the government so mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive timely WIC and SNAP allotments. So, and these things are paid out monthly. At the beginning of the month, you get your whole thing. So the shutdown also threatens nearly 7 million participants in the special supplemental nutritional program. So it affects WIC as well. And
it's impacting WIC as well.
Yeah, because
because
that fall.
SNAP, yeah,
Yeah.
because SNAP is, I mean, SNAP is for anybody. WIC is specifically for pregnant, breastfeeding women and children under the age of 5,
Yeah.
the most vulnerable. And by the way, if you know what you get in a WIC food package, it's it's your basics.
Yeah.
It's rice, tortillas, beans, cheese, low fat milk. I mean, this is as basic as it's going to get. Wow.
Yeah, it's and like I said, the money goes back into the economy.
It does.
So really, they're gouging local businesses in that regard that take the SNAP card, the benefits card with the SNAP on there.
And they're playing well, it's going to take a while to get back online. From what I understand, whenever this sort of thing happens, it can take a while for the systems to get back online. So that can take a week or so for people to get their benefits again. You think about the communities that are impacted where you have grocery workers, perhaps, who are going to be laid off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they can't apply for aid. So that's its own set of problems. This is the impact. And again, this is, I think the timing on this coming right before Thanksgiving is in and of itself strategic. We also have to consider that it's getting cold out. And what about, programs to help people keep their utilities on?
And to be fair too, there's blame to go
yeah.
around on both sides of the aisle on this too. Obviously, the Republicans the Republicans. Basically what this boils down to is the Affordable Care Act and renewing premiums. I think I can't remember exactly what it is regarding the ACA, but it's basically an attempt to keep the prices lower in the marketplace, where some of those safeguards are going to be taken away. And like I said, I may be just butchering the facts on this, but that's what I recall from it being the argument around all of this. And that's why, in the Senate, for this particular kind of funding bill, you have to have at least 60 votes for it. Otherwise, they'd say, well, the Republicans have a majority. Yeah, but they don't have 60 senators in the Senate. So that's why they need the Democrats to go along with this. Now, you and I remember a few years back where we said all this nonsense with the ACA wouldn't even have to come to pass if we just would have had Medicare for all, right? It's simple. It's much easier. This is just more of a giveaway. The ACA, even though it does benefit a handful of people, it's really a giveaway to the insurance companies. So, like I said, I see a lot of left-leaning articles and stuff saying, the Democrats are fighting for your health. Are they really, or are they really more fighting for the insurance companies? So, speaking of corporate screwery, I usually say fuckery, but I want to keep it PG on this show. But
Uncle Warren,
it's doo-doo caca. It's doo-doo caca with the corporate. So I reported yesterday on Morning Extra that Amazon had announced 30,000 corporate jobs were going to be cut, right? And a lot of other outlets did too, right? So now today Amazon says, well, it's just going to be 14. Maybe they felt guilty. 14,000 corporate jobs. Spending on artificial intelligence accelerates. And it's kind of it's funny how Amazon, who's developing AI themselves, is replacing 14,000 of their people with those little robots. So Amazon will cut about 14,000 corporate jobs as the online retail giant ramps up spending on AI while cutting costs elsewhere. Team individuals impacted by the job cuts will be notified. Well, they were notified yesterday. Most workers will be given 90 days to look for a new position internally. Beth Galletti, Senior Vice President of People Experience and Technology. People Experience and Technology. What a hell of a job that is, right? What do you do for a living? I'm in people experience. I'm like, oh. Sounds like you're into drugs too. Wrote in a letter to employees Tuesday. Those who can't find a new role at the company who are opt not to look for one will be provided transitional support, including severance, outplacement service, and health insurance benefits. Amazon has about 350,000 corporate employees and a total of workforce of approximately 1.56 million. Yikes. Welcome to Costco. I love you. Remember that from Idiocracy? That's what it sounds like to me. It's like millions of people working for here. The cuts announced Tuesday amount to about 4% reduction in its corporate workforce. In June, CEO Andy Jassy, the Jassy man, who has aggressively sought to cut costs since becoming CEO back in 21, said that he anticipated generative AI would reduce Amazon's corporate workforce in the next few years. And sure enough, it came to fruition. How about that, right? AI. Here we go. It's already hitting the big boys.
It is hitting the big boys and the big girls. And what's going to happen, I think we know, is some of these folks will be able to find other jobs, others won't. And they're going to be walking into an increasingly fragile safety net between, the undercutting of the ACA, as bad as it may be, and the willingness of the government to simply cut people off from basic food benefits. This is a recipe for a serious disaster and an even bigger divide.
This is why we need more than just Saturday parades of virtue signaling. We need like actual action from the people to shut stuff down, right? I always say, like, if you're going to shut stuff down for real, you got to hit the transportation sectors, right? Trucking, the railway, the ports, your air transit. You got to shut all that down in order for, because that's hitting the wallet, that's hitting the pocketbook, and that's the only time any of these people are going to listen to anything, much less even do something about it. So, but like you said, it's a little of this, a little of that. And then you got people trying to break into your emails. You like that? Aren't you a big fan of it?
That's always a lot of fun.
You like that? So people getting up in your biz nasty. Email accounts among millions of passwords stolen in data breach. Or is it? We'll find that out in just a few moments. Some 183 million email accounts, including millions of Gmail users, reportedly among a massive data breach. A website we're going to share with you in just a second lets users check if their email accounts have been compromised, expose the data leak affecting addresses and matching passwords, which it said occurred in April, and they're just now telling us that. And there's Toys R Us again. You can leave there. So and you know what? Let me go ahead and pull that up. This is the website. Have I been pwned? Did you know that's how you say this? This is pwned, PWNED. Do you know the origin of that? I do.
I remember the story, but I don't remember it well, and I know that you do, Uncle Warren.
Well, apparently it was a typo. Someone was trying to say owned, like they own, you just got owned, but then they hit P instead, and then it stuck somehow. So apparently, if you've been owned or pwned, you can check your email address here and see. And it is have I been pwned? Because I had to look that up. I didn't know how you say it. I thought it was like pawned, like a pawn shop. But I said that doesn't make any sense. So you can look on here, put in your email address, and it will tell you if you had a have you gotten into somebody gotten in your business, and I found out one of my email accounts had been compromised, so I had to change the password on it too. Fortunately, it's one I don't use very often, if hardly ever. Mostly like if I'm trying to get past certain like firewalls or something that says, well, put in your intro. Okay, I'll put that in. And then I never look at it again, that kind of thing. So I'm just that one I'm fine. But my other two that I actually use and love and cuddle and call, give hugs and kisses to, those are fine. But I did. I checked here and everything's fine. So have you checked yours? Do you
Yeah, and it's one of those things I actually get notifications about it. It's become to the point I feel like that we've really there's a genie that cannot be stuffed back into the bottle with this. That any attempts at maintaining some kind of privacy are just becoming more and more futile.
Yeah.
And they've tried, they're trying the biometrics. They're trying, to come up with easy to remember passwords, and stuff is getting defeated right and left. And people have access to all kinds of information about people, trying to get. And if in heaven help you, if somebody really violates you in some way with say, for example, with taking your banking information, grabbing your bank account, messing with your credit report. There, I don't know if you've heard about this, but there's actually medical identity theft,
Yeah.
where somebody will grab somebody's identity for the purpose of getting drugs and treatments. Not only is that person potentially left with bills, but they may not be able to get appropriate medical treatment because they're perceived as being drug seekers when a hospital looks at their records. So I mean, this sort of thing is all over the place, and there has been very little containment. It reminds me, back in the day when we managed things with these things called passbooks at the bank,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
and we
those.
managed our lives okay.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we're in
now
the
they want
Wild
to
West.
push. Yeah. Well, now they want to push everything to digital. They want everything all in one location. They say, well, it'll be on a blockchain, so it'll be secure. And it's like, no, I don't want my medical records up on some cloud somewhere. I don't care how secure it is. That's just, because like you said, there's medical identity theft that can happen. And I've heard a couple of friends of mine tell me about people that happened to
Yeah,
them too, that they
it does happen.
it does. Unfortunately for me, I'm not a very interesting person, and
Yeah.
have very nobody wants to check my medical records and use them. So, but talking about these emails, Google kind of pushing back on it though. They said Google was once again disputing that their Gmail was breached. What, us? No, not us. Not for the first time this year, Google has been forced to reassure its users that it has not suffered a large-scale data breach that could affect their Gmail accounts. A few months ago, the company released an unusual statement intended to put to bed allegations that its email service had been hit with a serious security issue, and it did so again this week after numerous web news outlets published stories suggesting that 183 million passwords may have been compromised in a new breach. Now they didn't say 183 Gmail accounts. They said 183 million passwords, I think across a few platforms, but they mentioned millions were Gmail. Google has since claimed that this isn't true on posts on the tweeters. Hey, P Stuff, what's up? It says the listed accounts are likely not fresh victims of an attack, but instead recent additions to the "Have I Been Pawned?" Pwned. God, I hate
Do you like
language.
being pounded, Uncle Warren?
Stop it. Data breach search engines database. The website is a free resource, and we told you about that. So Gmail saying what? Us? No, we didn't do nothing, fam. Those were some other kids. But that's the thing. I think I guess they're basically just trying to clarify that not all 183 million was them. And I gleaned that from the article. I didn't think it was 183 Gmail, but that's just how what is it? They're just skittish and have anxiety about it. I guess there's so many people that breach their email accounts that they have to apologize all the time.
It's not a very secure or sustainable system. I really don't know how this is all going to shake out. I really don't.
I don't know. But Yahoo was the big thing for a while. The email. Well, you had your AOL, then Yahoo came along with Yahoo Mail, and everybody went to that. And then after that, then Outlook and Google Mail, and it's always evolving.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, you have your somewhat more secure ones like your Proton Mail. Those
that's
are
strictly email, and it's not used to log you into 5 million sites.
Right, exactly. So I mean, I kind of have a I don't really like the fact that they a lot of places will make you log in with an email
Yeah.
instead of just like creating an account with a username and password with the two-step verification, which is getting pretty popular. But the using the email, that's hopefully that goes away soon too.
By the way, Uncle Warren, I just want to let people know, thank you all for your comments and being in our chats. If you are on my Instagram watching this, we can't see your chats in our system here. I'm going back and forth. So if you make a comment, please feel free to do so. It may take a little bit for us to respond or acknowledge it, but we do appreciate you being over there.
Yeah, yeah, everybody on Instagram, hello to you. I hope everybody's doing well for you. In these trying times. Speaking of trying times, I think it's time for the old catch of the day. This time you're talking about the K-shaped economy. What's that about?
So what's going on is, there's always been, shall we say, the haves and the have-nots, right? And there's going to be different spending patterns. But what we're seeing at this point is an even greater divide. And this is something that's been discussed for a while, is when you see an economy that develops in a way where you've got people on one side who have all kinds of money to spend on ugly looking Tesla trucks or whatever that may be. And then you got folks who are, cutting back on heating, on how much they heat their homes, or they're going off to and they're spending more money on generic or private label foods because they can't afford the brand names that they were paying for in the past. And then the difference may be a matter of pennies, but every single penny counts. So what's going on is we are absolutely seeing um, real change. In fact, the CNBC article here calls it a K-shaped bifurcation. And we're seeing the wealthier people, for example, are spending more money on some, shall we say, in food and beverage, for example, things like if you're buying Topo Chico sparkling water, we're seeing when you see those being marketed to high income consumers, they're buying that. A lot more people are buying Fairlife protein shakes, partly because people who with higher incomes may be on the GLP-1 drugs that can be costly, and insurance doesn't always cover it. But the Fairlife shakes are very good for people on those drugs because it helps to maintain it's they're high protein. They help to maintain body mass, lean body mass, and that's absolutely critical. Um, what we're seeing though is that we're also seeing the return of the value menus over to the various fast food restaurants because people are not able to afford the more expensive Big Macs. Have you seen the price of fast food meals lately?
Yeah, they're like if you want to get a combo meal of something that's not really that big,
Yeah.
it's usually a lot of times it's not even less than $10. It's $10 or more.
Yeah, at least. Oh, hey, good to see you, CBC voter. So we're seeing just these spending patterns that are changing significantly. Now, in fairness, if you follow the grocery industry publications, you will see that there's been a real expansion in various store brands. And some of these store brands, they're not even necessarily emphasizing value. They're emphasizing that they are better for you, that they use fewer artificial colors, that sort of thing. But that indicates that the kind of that segment of the market, that educated middle class consumer who is concerned about health issues, is now finding themselves having to move to a store brand if they want to maintain that level of healthy eating. So you see store brands that are actually trying to appeal to a strapped middle class or previously middle class consumer.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen this before in downturns where and I me being of the suspicious minded person that I am, a lot of times I like to think some of these might be by design, so that you get more of an upswing for the rich, and then the poor, it gets more of a struggle in those times too. I mean, if you look at the charts going back from, like, say, the 50s, right, where you had production and worker wages almost, obviously they're going to have their profit margins or stuff, but basically more or less along the same lines. And then as you got towards the 80s, the 70s and 80s, that's when you started seeing that split again. And so every time there is another economic downturn, like a 2008 crash, or when, your COVID comes along and everything nosedives again, but look who comes out on top again, and look who's struggling afterwards again.
Again, and the other thing, and this is a really interesting quote from this article on CNBC. Procter and Gamble has said that their company is seeing K-shaped shopping behaviors among its consumers. Wealthier shoppers are buying bigger pack sizes from club retailers, and the lower income shoppers are exhausting pantry inventory before returning to the stores. Now, this is critical because there's a saying, that it's expensive to be poor. That, for
Yeah.
example, a person with more money can go out and buy a better pair of boots or shoes. Good boots and good shoes are more expensive, but they also last longer. They're easier on the body. Yeah, and your feet are more protective. It's better for your joints. Poor folks will have to go out and pay what they can for a used or a very cheap pair of shoes that will wear out more quickly, and that will perhaps contribute to various health problems, which again are going to require money in the end to fix.
Yeah.
But they are actually going to be spending more for shoes over time than a person who can afford to spend $100, $200, $300 for a really good pair of work boots or shoes at one time. And so what we're seeing is that people, oftentimes, if you do buy in bulk, you can save a lot of money. But the problem is that means that you have to have the money to buy in bulk at that time. So you have to be able, and in this case, we're talking about the warehouse clubs. You have to pay a fee, and they're not always that expensive, the memberships, depending on when you buy them, but you pay that fee. The warehouse clubs usually are not in major thoroughfares. They're huge. So you may have to take public transportation or drive out to one, and then you have to be able to pay a large amount of money for that large package, which over time will save you money, but
Mm-hmm.
it may not be possible for everybody to get there, particularly if you don't have a car. Now, what people will do if they only have a few dollars, but they have to feed their family for the week, they might go to the dollar store where they have the tiny pack sizes. And yeah, that'll get them food for the week, but they've just paid twice as much
Yeah.
for the same quantity of food because they had to go with the smaller pack size. And that's what's happening. It's increasing, and it is distressing. And of course, given what we were talking about with the SNAP benefits being cut off right now, that's going to make things even more difficult for people when they're trying to afford food. And even when the SNAP benefits are restored, remember, people only get a finite amount of that. And
Yeah.
they're still going to have to make choices with that, and paying more, even with SNAP benefits, than they might if they had more money at one time to buy a larger quantity of something.
Well, yeah, it's that's the catch there, right? It's like some of these grocery stores, like the Jewel around here. We've noticed that if you want to save something, you want to save money on like say if you want to get a box of cereal, right? That normally that would cost like $4 or $5, right?
Mhm.
But they got it on sale for $2.75. You're like, wow, that's great, half price. But you got to buy 4 of them to
Yeah,
get the deal, right?
yeah.
And some people who are, some poor singles don't have a lot of space for food storage, right? Like when I was coming up, we had a big deep freeze, right? So you could like not only like, and we grew a garden too, so we take all the vegetables and stuff that we weren't eating at the time, put it in the deep freeze, we have it for later. Same thing would go into the store. You'd buy in bulk, yeah, you're not going to use all of it right now, so you put it in the freezer, or you put it in a pantry or something that's large enough that you're able to store this amount of stuff. So so it's not just the amount of money that you need up front to get these, eventual savings. It's also, do you have storage space for it too? And so that lends to what you talked about, the small spending, right, where you're buying smaller things but you're paying more money for it, and it's just it just seems like a racket,
Oh, it is a
that
racket. It,
having to buy 4 items is definitely a racket. Shame on you, Jewel. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for doing that shit.
well, it's also with the coupons and the money back, and you have to buy 2 boxes. Like I have a certain cereal that I like, and it's normally $5 a box, and I can get $1 off or 50 cents off, but I have to buy 2 boxes to get that 50 cents off. I can do it, but for some folks that's really going to be difficult, and so it goes. The other thing that's happening, and this is crazy. The average price for a new vehicle is over $50,000 now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The average price,
yeah,
$50,000.
the average price for a new vehicle is over $50,000 according to Kelley Blue Book. And this increase is coming, but apparently there's also been a rise in loan defaults and repossessions going on right now. And as this article says, for those with FICO scores below 620. So again, we're seeing, the price of a new vehicle is going up. We're seeing defaults and repossessions, which are no good and will permanently, well, not permanently, but will severely harm somebody's credit score for a good long while. And again, if people if we are struggling to find jobs and there's return to work orders, not having a reliable vehicle can really take these folks out. And again, it becomes more expensive to be poor.
It is. It really is. It's we'll just buy less. Well, then that's not how that works.
No, it's not how
someone
that
who's
works.
it's as someone who's
Buying
been
less,
poor
yeah.
most of his life. Yeah, it's like you have to be very creative. You have to find you have to find the deals, right? Off-brand, more often than not, is your friend, right? I can't remember the last time that me personally I bought anything that was name brand like that. It was always like some sort of food club version or some sort of that particular grocery store's brand or something like that, and you see that at Walmart too. It's like I think their brand is great value, and you just see prices on those things that's just unbelievably low, but then at the same time you got to go to Walmart where they treat their employees like they don't pay them, and now those employees, going back to the SNAP thing, a lot of those Walmart workers are on SNAP, and so they'll have to be taking out second jobs and stuff just to feed themselves, right? And how they're going to feed themselves when the food's so damn expensive too. So
Yeah,
it's a vicious cycle for poor people.
it is a vicious cycle. And then you have that hanging over you. It's the mental load.
Yeah,
it's always
right. And
load.
you go back to what you were talking about, medical bills. A lot of people, they can't afford, unless they grow their own food or something like that. A lot of them can't afford the healthier brands because they cost more. And so they go for the cheaper brands because they think about the short term where they're not going to starve, but in the long term, they're damaging their health. And when they have to go to the doctor and have to pay those outrageous premiums, it's just, it never ends for poor people like that.
And I think what we're also seeing here is, as I pointed out before, we're seeing people who consider themselves to be middle class who are now strapped. And so there's an attempt to appeal with the store brands to the middle class with the packaging and the fewer additives, more so-called more natural products, which is its own thing. But they're trying to kind of, I think, put the middle class into a state to their own little bubble where they don't have to pay attention to the fact that the quality of life for the so-called middle class is itself going down. And I think that's the branding that's very strategic.
Yeah. You're seeing that definite divide, and that K is getting bigger and bigger too.
It
I spent the
is.
first 6 months of the year living off the food banks as much as possible. Yeah. And I think you're up in Canada, right, Mikhail Nahilo? That's I think, and you come down here to the States, and it's yeah, it's you're looking at the same thing. A lot of food banks, a lot more food banks popping up now than there was before. So
But when the people who normally would donate to the food banks are not able to do so, that's going to be an issue. And keep in mind
yeah.
that a lot of food that's donated to food banks also will come from corporations. But if their stuff is being, if they have to, they're slowing down production, that could also limit what ends up in the food banks. So the safety valves themselves are starting to leak.
And Unity makes a good point here. As far as the propaganda around like SNAP is concerned, that they see a few people who are on food stamps, they get an exorbitant amount, and they attribute those few people to all of us. You're exactly right. They take these outlandish examples and say, oh well, this is the norm instead of being the exception. And so what happens then? SNAP gets deprioritized in the eyes of of those who are in charge, and because their constituents are like, these damn welfare queens and these poor people, sucking off the government, leeching, and it's like, no, it's just they're just trying to eat. They're not making like they're not having
Yeah.
banquets at their homes, and and like catering to 1,000 people and stuff or something like that. They're just trying to eat. That's all.
And
It's
as Anilio says, the food bank CEOs are millionaires. Nothing to see here. And that's a very good point. There was a book that came out in the early '90s by a woman named Teresa Funicello, who was part of, I want to say it was, she went for it was a welfare rights union for her area. She wrote this book called The Tyranny of Kindness. It's out of print, and a lot of the details no longer really apply because of the Clinton administration reforms, which were something. Um, but she takes apart the whole system of providing for the poor and shows how there's a whole lot of money in this system. Very little of it ends up in the pockets of the poor, but it does end up in the pockets of the people who are profiting off the poor. And she does a
mhm.
particularly good skewering of the food bank system, and the ways that food gets offloaded into the system for corporate benefit, for the benefit of the food corporations, but a lot of it does not actually get to the people who can
Yeah,
use that food. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there
It's
we
well,
go.
yeah, yeah, and this kind of segues nicely into our recurring tide today, as we're talking about the government shutdown and
Uh huh.
who's not getting food. Well, uh, so airlines are feeding air traffic controllers as they miss their first full paychecks. Folks, if you travel by air a lot, you don't want to piss off the air traffic controllers, right? You want to keep them fed. You don't want them hangry. Uh, some airlines are stepping in to help feed air traffic controllers and other unpaid federal aviation workers who missed their first full paycheck yesterday, day 28 of the government shutdown. United Airlines told CBS News that it's helping support essential workers who are going unpaid during the stalemate in DC. United is donating meals for air traffic controllers and other federal workers whose pay is delayed. We appreciate the hardworking federal employees who are keeping the air travel system running, the airline said. So, a private corporation is feeding federal workers. That's where we're at right now with that. It's where it said they said they're feeding workers at hubs across the country, including Chicago, Denver, Houston, LA, Newark, New Jersey, San Francisco, and DC. Delta Airlines also confirmed to CBS News that it has arranged for a limited number of meals for transportation sector workers, while noting that it's operating within the strict rules established for employees of federal government agencies. JetBlue said it's working with the federal partners, including local aviation officials, to offer meals at our airports as a gesture of support. The airline said it's working with the Transportation Security Agency, better known by their loving name, the TSA, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and FAA to coordinate those efforts. Oh God, they're coordinating with Customs and Border Protections. Oh boy, what could go wrong? At a press conference on Tuesday at LaGuardia Airport in New York, the Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy highlighted air traffic controllers' financial struggles as they go without pay. This is day one, he said, of controllers missing their first full paychecks. Day two gets harder, and day three is harder after that as expenses continue to roll in. Yeah. Well, you're only the Secretary of Transportation. I'm sure there's nothing you can do about it. Right. Duffy also noted that controllers are calling in sick in large numbers, as they did the last time this happened, as some seek side gigs with companies like Uber or DoorDash to make ends meet during the shutdown. This is Nick Daniels from the National Air Traffic Controllers Association talking about how air traffic controllers have to have 100% of focus 100% of the time, right? They're looking at little dots on a radar, and they're looking at numbers, and they have to talk to pilots, and they have to make sure nobody runs into each other in the sky, that sort of thing. And they got to make sure that they're on the right flight paths and stuff. It is a high pressure gig.
Yeah.
Particularly
when the weather's bad, like when you have hurricanes in some areas and high winds and things like that.
Right. Yeah, you have to coordinate with your local meteorologists and whatnot, or the National Weather Service themselves, who are also experiencing cuts and are underfunded. On average, this year, 5% of flight delays were attributed to air traffic controller shortages, according to Duffy. Personnel shortages at some airports were responsible for roughly 44% of the 8,700 flight delays just this Sunday, while accounting for 24% of Monday's delays. What are we doing here? Seriously, we gotta send Lunchables to the air traffic controllers. This is probably one of the reasons why I don't fly that much. I don't like flying, not because it's up in the air. It's because there's no room in the seats. I'm like 6'4", and it's like, your knees are up in your face. So I take a train, and I've gotten used to taking the trains. Yes, they're a lot longer. They take a lot longer to do, but you don't have to worry about air traffic controllers. You have train controllers, and yes, you have to worry about head-on collisions, but not so much as you do with the thousands and thousands of planes in the air every day. It's their value, it seems to be underappreciated, particularly for those in government who fly all the time, right?
Well, now I'm wondering, they're saying they're coordinating with Immigration and Customs and all that, and I'm wondering if Customs is feeding the air traffic controllers all the food that they confiscate from people who are coming through Customs. Just
right. Yeah, no. Well, they'd be feeding them, shampoo bottles, stuff like that,
or giving them all that, or
or that.
Yeah,
food
and I'm hearing about air traffic controllers are picking up Uber shifts, and it's just. And I've also heard some reports. People are saying that planes are circling around the airports because it's taking a while to get them down, which is a dangerous thing to do. And it's not good. It leads to canceled flights. It's not good.
Yeah, and even before the shutdown, it wasn't exactly smooth sailing up in the skies. We were seeing a lot of plane, helicopter crashes, stuff like that. You remember that? That's like within the last few months. Yeah, there was a lot of them, right?
Yeah,
head-on collisions. It's just, you need maybe that's inexperience. I mean, that's not on air traffic controllers, obviously, but I mean, some of those have, that's the things they have to deal with. They have to deal with these planes that are going on the wrong tarmac. You got to get them. It's just like, what's wrong with these pilots too? So it's almost like they have to play babysitter with the pilots too. And, and then the last thing they need to do is to do all this shit on an empty stomach, or they can't pay their bills, or they're
worried about their
distracted.
kids having empty stomachs.
Yeah, they're worried about their kids, or they're distracted by having to have another job like Uber. And by the way, just a little side note about Uber. I was reading this yesterday. Uber does this thing where they'll charge you different rates for different credit cards. So yeah, if you're using an American Express, your bill's going to be a lot cheaper, I think, than if you use like a Visa or something else. So I don't know if that's legal or not, but that's what they do. So that's what made me think of that. But going back to this, it's idiocracy where we're just letting the infrastructure of this country, not just like the physical infrastructure, but the human infrastructure of this country, just crumble like that, right? And we mentioned immigration, right, and food, which segues nicely into this. The Heritage Grocers Group could be for sale due to immigration fears.
I got a lot to say on this one.
The owner of the parent, let's see. So fear of immigration raids is having such a wide-reaching effect on consumers that private equity firm Apollo Global Management is looking to sell Hispanic grocery chain Heritage Grocers Group. That's according to Reuters. The Ontario, California-based parent company of El Rancho Supermercado, Cardenas Markets, and Tony's Fresh Market could be sold for $1.5 billion, according to Reuters. Heritage Grocers Group spokesperson declined to comment. Apollo, which combined Tony's and Cardenas through an acquisition in 2022, is reportedly working with investment bank UBS on the potential sale, according to the report. Apollo bought El Rancho the following year. The company currently has about 115 Hispanic grocery stores in Illinois, Texas, Kansas, California, Nevada, and Arizona. Ratings agencies downgraded Heritage's credit this year because of softening consumer spending, fueled by tariff uncertainty and, of course, those damn high prices. Widespread ICE raids and deportations have caused the company's core consumers in some communities to pull back on their shopping habits. So there are consequences when you don't think them through this far ahead like this, right?
Yeah, and I want to speak about this because one of these groups is Tony's. And Tony's, I mean, I don't know if I'm sure you've been there, Uncle Warren. They've got a stake in Chicago. Tony's, I mean, it's in addition to just being a good grocery store, good grocery chain, they cater to immigrants. If you go into a Tony's, every Tony's will be different in terms of its product assortment. And one of the unique things about Tony's that you have to learn when you start shopping there is that they have different aisles for different ethnicities. So if you are looking for beans, or like canned beans or something like that, you will find canned beans in different sections depending on which ethnicity you're looking for at whatever seasonings. Same thing with things like pickles. You go into the Eastern European or the Polish section, you'll find pickles, but you'll also find pickles in the regular pickle section. You will find even wine. They have a whole wine department, liquor department, but you'll also find Eastern European wine in the Eastern European section. And so they really do cater. They have a great deli, but they also have a great butcher shop. They have halal meat. It really caters to immigrant populations. And I can actually see, given all this, why there would be a decrease in shopping when people are afraid to leave their homes and they can't always afford to work with companies like Instacart or DoorDash to have things delivered. And honestly, I would expect that many of these immigrants may not trust those services because they may be wondering, hey, we open our doors, they're going to be an ICE agent because they've been tipped off.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not saying that the companies are doing that. I'm saying I could see where that would be a fear.
or that somehow the government is tapping into those exchanges, those monetary exchanges like that, and could get that information as well. I
Yeah.
mean, we're seeing the overt just arrogance of what's going on right now, and you can imagine what's going on behind the scenes, as far as tapping into that sort of thing,
Also,
to find
I would
out.
I would also say, one other thing is that we're so data driven. Tony's has its own app, that your loyalty app, and I'm sure the other stores do as well. And between that and your credit cards or buying things online, it would be very easy for a government agency to develop a profile. They would see what foods you're buying, and what brands you're buying. That's going to indicate whether people are immigrants living in that home.
Right, yeah, but yeah, the address, the neighborhoods they're delivering to, certainly. Uh,
But the
if
brands
you're
themselves, yeah.
and the brands themselves, there's also the names of the people on those deliveries that they'll look at too. They see a Rodriguez or something like that. The racial profiling now is just so absurd. They're going
And
after
utterly
people.
blatant.
Yeah, and utterly blatant too. Yeah. Going after the skin color, going after, specific,
Names.
types of last names that, yeah.
Oh,
So how are they going to get their food?
I heard about a woman recently in Chicago. She was zip tied for an hour. She's an American citizen, always carries her passport on her, which, you and I don't do. But she showed him the passport. Nice agent said this is a fake passport because she had an Anglo last name.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
I was
was,
like,
it was, it was
oh,
like a European name or something, but I can't remember what it was. But that's just like, you're
she
legally
had a
not supposed to
passport.
do that.
And yeah, and as I've pointed out for those who think that they're safe because they look like us, again, there are a lot of immigrants in the United States who are not United States citizens who look and sound just like Uncle Warren and myself.
Yeah.
And believe me, they're going to be next.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's safe. Yeah.
And then, well, they're already arresting American citizens too.
Mhm.
Because of that, they'll say, "Oh, your last name, or you have brown or black skin or whatever," and it's, you obviously you're not from here. But it's like, what do you got to do? Carry around your birth certificate? You got to carry around your paperwork that actually
And they
says you're
won't
a
even
legal
accept
citizen,
that.
and they won't even accept that.
And it's like Kate, it says, yeah, what about agents following landscapers and cleaning crews into gated communities? Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I Home Depot over here, I pass by there a lot. I used to. You see all kinds of Hispanic workers out there. That's what they do. They're out there. They're day laborers, right? Somebody needs some help with a construction job. They're ready to go. Quick, they're gone. So now even like your smaller construction jobs are being affected by this too, by ICE. So just stay frosty, folks. Take care of each other. Like we always
Yeah.
say, meet your neighbors, get to know them, because pretty
See
soon
if
we're
you
going
can
to
be
need
of some
everybody
help. Say,
together.
hey, I'm going to the grocery store. Do you need anything?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that'd be kind of a cool thing. It's like, can I pick you up something? Might be a little safer for me to
Yeah.
head out there for you to get it. So all of us, the Blanco allies, we need to help our friends. So in
Yeah.
any way we can. So meanwhile, we gotta flip over here to
We do.
we flip over the radio to NPR. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
going to be doing a deeper dive into this. This is getting a little weird, Uncle Warren.
yeah. So
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
we know that the corporation from public broadcasting is supposed to be shutting down in January, and they've been supporting various public media sources. There are several public media organizations out there. It's not just NPR or PBS, although we hear about them the most. But they are uh, they support other organizations, and apparently there's now a lawsuit. NPR is suing the Corporation Public Broadcasting because the Corporation Public Broadcasting was supposed to be supporting a satellite system. They've pulled back from that and instead are giving that money to another organization that's recently formed. And NPR is saying that Corporation Public Broadcasting is kowtowing to the Trump administration. But there are some weirder things going on here that I want to be ferreting out. But Uncle Warren, if you want to read over the article.
Yeah, top NPR executive took the stand Tuesday to detail how the Trump administration has sought to punish the media outlet for its coverage by redirecting $36 million intended for the operation of a national radio satellite system to an ill-equipped public media group. So U.S. District Judge Randolph Moss scheduled the evidentiary hearing to figure out why the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, in an apparent effort to appease Trump in his campaign against NPR, reversed course 2 days after approving a 5-year multi-million-dollar contract with the media outlet. Badri Munipala, vice president of distribution at NPR, took the stand yesterday to shed light on the public radio satellite system and how the media company has operated it across the country. Munipala explained that the satellite system broadcasts NPR's national programming as well as international programming from outlets like the BBC to the 246 member stations across the country. So yeah, your local PBS is no doubt running a lot of this too. So Theodore Boutros of Gibson Dunn and representing NPR argued Thursday that the corporation was seeking to curry favor with the administration to save themselves as Trump began eyeing the entity for massive funding cuts. Ultimately, an unsuccessful effort as Congress passed a rescission bill back in July, canceling $1.1 billion earmarked for the corporation. He pointed to an April 2nd CPB board meeting where the members reportedly authorized the distribution of $36 million to NPR to continue operating the satellite system. Then, following a meeting with an unidentified official from the Office of Management and Budget on April 3rd, where the official expressed her intense dislike for NPR, but suggested it would be a shame to throw the baby out with the bathwater as apparent reference to the satellite system funding. Boutros argued that the corporation took the OMB officials' message to heart and ultimately decided at an April 4th board meeting to redirect NPR's congressionally allocated funds to another entity, the Public Media Infrastructure. I've never heard of that. Which could take over.
Formed.
Yeah. I wonder why. Which could take over operating the radio satellite system. NPR has repeatedly argued that the entity is a fiction and still does not actually exist. Yeah, it sounds like some sort of scam.
Okay, go on.
Munipala testified that it would take the public media infrastructure at least 4 years to create the infrastructure necessary to operate the satellite system. And if the system were to fail at any point before then, local stations across the country would have to deal with wide swaths of dead air normally filled by national programming. The intent, Boutros said, was to indirectly punish NPR for its apparent bias against Trump without any direct actions, a practice commonly referred to as jawboning. Joseph Lipchitz of Saul Ewing and representing the corporation argued that NPR is not entitled to the $36 million and had misrepresented the April 2nd board decision as a final decision rather than an agreement to negotiate an amendment to its existing agreement. He rejected Boutros' assertion that CPB was working on behalf of the Trump administration, reminding Moss that it had filed a lawsuit against the president in April to block the summary termination of 3 board members. Moss, a Barack Obama appointee, seemed skeptical of Lipchitz's description, noting it seemed reasonable to view the corporation as fighting against the administration in public while working in private to assist in its efforts against NPR. So he further compared the corporation's decision to sacrifice NPR to save itself with Britain and France's policy to appease Nazi Germany before the outbreak of World War II and refuse Poland's calls for aid. It's a hell of a comparison there. Kathy Merritt, CPB's chief operating officer, said in a declaration that the board had paid close attention to the Department of Government Efficiency's or DOJ's actions at independent agencies throughout Washington, such as the U.S. Institute for Peace. In March, their DOJ agents forcefully took over the building with assistance from FBI agents, Department of State security personnel, and several Metropolitan police officers, raising concerns of an armed standoff. Merritt wrote that Doge's conduct worried her because a similar takeover would leave the corporation unable to distribute funds necessary for interconnection, the system via which local stations receive NPR programming via the public radio satellite system. And that's TV and radio stations, too. NPR filed the suit on May 27th, describing Trump's May 1st executive order freezing federal funding to NPR and PBS's textbook First Amendment retaliation and viewpoint discrimination, as well as a clear violation of the separation of powers and spending clauses by disregarding Congress's funding decisions in the Public Broadcasting Act of 1967. Yeah.
All right. So this was something that I was not expecting to see. And as I said, I am not crazy about the defunding of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. I like, there's a lot of good folks at NPR, and I'm a firm believer in public broadcasting. And don't get me wrong, and I understand the need for that satellite system because it does provide national programming to stations around the country that, are small and don't necessarily have a lot of money to produce a lot of their own stuff. But I want to point out that this organization, it's a new organization that's taken up a moribund, they're organizing under the legal structure of a moribund not-for-profit. It's calling itself Public Media Infrastructure. Here's the thing. It is made up of established public media groups, including American Public Media Group, PRX, which is a public a radio exchange where they can exchange programming, New York Public Radio, the Station Resource Group, and the National Confederation of Community Broadcasters. So these are smaller organizations, but still established. And again, I have concerns about the satellite system, but if this is where this is turning, there may be a silver lining here in that NPR has been very dominant. NPR gets a lot of funding from corporations, and they talk about it. I mean, they disclose this. So the same with PBS. Whereas there are smaller systems that may not have that kind of corporate backing. This is particularly true of the community broadcasters that are typically low power stations that are doing great work with music, culture, news, and talk, where they're really not getting any support from anybody other than the communities that they serve. They're usually volunteer labor. And so if the idea is moving the control of public media over to a coalition of smaller organizations that are less plugged in, this could be a rough road, but it could also mean a more democratic public media ecosystem. That NPR, for example, is they can be very careful about what they talk about and their language and who they are supporting. They've also been very vocal against so-called pirate radio stations. And again, I very strongly believe that we have to protect public bandwidth because it is a limited resource. But at the same time, some of these pirate stations have a legitimate community purpose. And instead of pushing the FCC to make it easier for low power stations to get licenses, right now it's at the whim of the FCC. NPR has not done that. So I'm going to be investigating this more. I just learned about this and I wanted our folks to know about it because we're part of the independent media system. We're not on the radio at this time. I have been on the radio. You have been on the radio. I've been a part of community stations in the past. They're very important. This could be a challenging situation, but it may not be the great bugaboo that we think it is.
Well, in Cleveland, we're going back to this story we were talking about, maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, I think. So the Cleveland City Council stands up for Cleveland State University student-run radio station after they were shut down. So this is
Yeah.
good news. So Cleveland City Council is taking a stand against the new partnership between Cleveland State University and IdeaStream Public Media. During Monday night's meeting, the City Council passed an emergency resolution supporting students and station members working to regain access to WCSB. The resolution is urging Cleveland State University to fully restore WCSB radio to its students. The resolution states that on October 3rd, 2025, which was ironically World College Radio Day, IdeaStream Public Media and CSU leadership engaged in a hostile takeover of the signal 89.3 FM. Students were informally and without notice locked out of the radio station and escorted from the building by police. This council unequivocally supports the students and community members who continue to organize to reclaim their station and the culture of student-run WCSB. Cleveland City Councilman Chris Harsh, that's a harsh name, says he felt compelled to show his support because he was a college radio DJ and it's important to preserve Cleveland's culture. WCSB has been around for 50 years, and that's generational. There are multiple decades of people who grew up listening to this radio station. It means a lot to them. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the people down here at City Hall, he said. Cleveland State University says IdeaStream approached the school several months ago about taking over the radio station for jazz programming, because everybody loves light jazz, right? In exchange, the school would strengthen its relationship for student opportunities for hands-on experience at IdeaStream. But over the last few weeks, students have argued that there's been a lack of transparency in the transfer and believe the college radio station added something special to the community. Allison Bumgardner, the former general manager for WCSB, says they are grateful for the Cleveland community and city council stepping up to defend the students. It's really inspiring to see how the Cleveland community and especially the political representatives of Cleveland are really stepping up to the plate on this important issue, particularly about representing diverse voices in the Cleveland community. City Council is now asking CSU President Laura Bloomberg and IdeaStream to come to City Hall and discuss the agreement, hoping to put students back on the air. I don't think that Dr. Laura Bloomberg and Kevin Martin understood how deep WCSB reached into the community when they made this decision without consulting with anyone. They've upended thousands of people's lives, people who kept their radio dial tuned to 89.3 FM for years, who tuned in one day to find that their favorite shows weren't on and are upset about it. Yes, I have that same reaction to Kenny G myself. CSU students and the community will protest this afternoon. That was, not sure when that was, against the transfer of WCSB to IdeaStream. The rally started at 3 p.m. in the quad during the State of the University address. So after their report aired, so Cleveland State sent News 5, that's the site here. They said, we are aware of the resolution passed by City Council last night. While we appreciate their engagement, we stand by our decision. Doubling down. We believe in the benefit of this partnership and remain committed to supporting the students who have been involved with the radio station, even as we seek to serve all our students in a rapidly evolving higher educational landscape. Yeah. Nobody asked for light jazz. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Nobody asked for it. This was handled so poorly. I mean, it's we got so many issues here. It was just such a bad example for these young kids, young people who are running the station. And Cleveland is not letting this go. And I'm delighted to see it, and I wanted to let our viewers.
There's got to be some money advantage to having IdeaStream come in and do this. Otherwise, why would you uproot 50 years of something that didn't need to be uprooted at all?
Yeah, there's got to be there. It is as I said, it's a disgrace. I'm glad to see Cleveland standing up for the station.
Norman, I just want to clarify, Kenny G, light jazz, not actual good jazz. We're talking like elevator music. That's the light jazz I was talking about. Wait a minute, hang on a second. I think something's out of order.
I'm always out of order.
Okay, so that did all right. So you added that. All right, give me just a second here.
No worries. I added something last minute that I saw, which I thought was of interest, and that I've reported on in previous shows in the past.
Yeah,
hey, Anonymous, good to see you.
Anonymous.
Anonymous, yes.
Okay, here we go.
I love what you're doing, Kate. Love that. I was going over some stuff from the big stations in Chicago when they used to play. We used to support the local bands back in the early '80s, late '70s, early '80s. There were some great shows that they also helped sponsor in the city.
What's up, Yipper? You only listen to Rootwork and Darker Than Blue. Nice. Yeah, light jazz is that's what they use at black op sites to torture people to get information. And that's the only thing that works. People, you could do like the waterboarding, you could do all the physical stuff. You play some Kenny G for like 30 seconds, and boy, they'll tell you who killed Kennedy. It's really fascinating how that works. Finally, we have prison phone calls from the affected by the FCC.
Yeah,
as they vote to nearly double rates for prison phone calls. The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission voted Tuesday to dramatically increase the price limit that jails and prisons are allowed to charge for phone and video calls. Are these public jails or are these the privately owned jails?
All of them. Apparently, it's by size.
Yeah, so under the new rules, costs in large jails were expected to increase to 10 cents per minute, and by 18 cents per minute in jails with fewer than 50 people. But at the last minute, the FCC also added a 2 cents per minute fee to account for correctional facilities expenses. The FCC is backtracking on rules adopted last year, which had capped rates between 6 cents and 12 cents per minute. Overall, rates were expected to increase by as much as 83%. According to an analysis by the advocacy group Worth Rises, this will cost families and inmates an additional $215 million each year and result in 2.1 additional call minutes a year under the 2024 rules to 714 million under the 2025 rules. So this is the rates here from 24. So then it goes up here, and the downstream effects of the change are alarming. The benefits of incarcerated people making phone calls are well documented. They reduce the likelihood of a person will commit a crime when they're released. They promote relationships with children, and I'm assuming their children, and improve jail safety. That means children who won't be able to hear "I love you" from their parents. That means spouses who won't be able to communicate about parenting. That means people won't be able to prepare for their release. Bianca Tylik, the executive director of Worth Rises, told CNET it has huge implications for individuals, families, communities, and public safety. In 2022, Congress passed the Martha Wright Reed Act, which gave the FCC authority to regulate prison phone calls. The FCC voted to enforce the lower caps last year and set a date of January 1st of this year for prisons to begin complying on a staggered basis. Then in July, FCC Chair Brendan Carr pushed the date back to April 1st, 2027 due to negative unintended consequences. How about that? That seems to be a theme of the Trump administration, negative unintended consequences. Hours before the FCC meeting, Senate Democrats sent a letter to Carr calling the delay unlawful, writing that it was snatching away relief for the incarcerated people and their families from predatory rates, just as they were starting to go into effect. Carr, who voted to approve in part the 2024 cap rates, characterized the lower rates as a course correction, saying that some prisons or jails were forced to scale back or even stop offering calling services altogether since the lower rates were adopted. The FCC has not provided any evidence of those unintended consequences. Wanda Bertram, a communications strategist for the Prison Policy Initiative, told CNET They're doing it out of a desire to not make an enemy out of sheriffs and companies. Americans spend more than $1 billion a year on phone calls to incarcerated people, according to Prison Policy Initiative. 1 in 3 families of incarcerated people eventually goes into debt to pay for these calls. Going into debt to pay for phone calls. Jesus. It's not incarcerated people paying for these calls, Bertram said. 90% of the time, it's their friends, their family members, their loved ones outside of prison. So not only do you have prison labor, which basically modern day slavery, they're jacking up the price of phone calls. What's the underlying theme to that? Why do you think they're doing that?
Well, it has been said about this administration that the cruelty is the point. And I think that there is that aspect to this. I think that it is, it is an attempt. We talk about the prison industrial complex in this country, that it is becoming. There's a business in incarcerating people, and I'm not one for abolishing prisons. There is a need for local constabularies. There is a need for, in some cases, some form of incarceration for people who are actually dangerous. But a lot of these folks, for example, are mentally ill. A lot of these folks are in there for nonviolent crimes. They are, and again, crime is crime, and it's bad, but they're in there for nonviolent crimes. They may be mentally ill, they may be physically ill, and if they're in jails, many times when people are in jails, they're just being held there because they can't afford bail.
Yeah.
And these people may not have been convicted of anything at this point, and they need to coordinate their defenses. Sometimes they need to coordinate medical care. They've got stuff going on with their kids and their families. It is absolutely critical for these folks to have access to people outside, people who may not be able to visit regularly. And they're making it more expensive for their families to stay in touch with them. They're paid pennies for their prison jobs or their jail jobs. And their family and friends are, it doesn't go, it's not like you can just pick up your cell phone and go off your data plan. They're paying for this.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's security factors involved, but again, like I think in some cases it's going up to as much as, if more, of $6 an hour. We were paying, that, a lot for nighttime rates. On phone lines back when we had them, before we had cell phones. It's a system that is designed, I think, to create profit for the companies that are providing the service, who have the contract, and it is just another way of grinding people down, making it expensive to be poor, and making money off of incarceration instead of addressing other problems. Just as we should not have 1 in 8 people on food assistance in this country, we should not have as many people as we have involved in the criminal justice system or incarcerated. Again, it's a sign that something has gone terribly wrong.
Yeah, I totally agree with you too. The whole prison system needs to be revamped. Like you said, there's just people in there who need mental health. They need those services instead of being stuck in a jail cell that's just going to make them worse. I'm talking about the non-violent ones, right? Yeah, obviously, violent criminals. That's what do you probably would have to keep them isolated from the public in some form or fashion. But what's going on, especially with these private prisons too, is that, like you said, they're profiting off of the labor of these people. And now not only are profiting off the labor, they're profiting off of the phone calls that they have to make to their families and to their lawyers and to whoever that they need to speak to. And that money goes right back into the private prison system. And when the public jails, does that go back into the prison too, or does some of that go out to the community? How does that work? Probably not. It just seems like a big racket to me.
It is a big racket. I was hearing about a private prison system that was actually, and then they weren't just doing it to the prisoners, they were doing it to the corrections officers. They were not giving all corrections officers a radio. Now
Hmm.
that's just plain negligence.
Yeah. Well, but it's apropos with all the
Yeah,
other negligence of infrastructure and stuff that's going on in this
yeah.
country. Like I said, not just the human, but the physical and whatnot too. And yeah, prisons in a just world are there for rehabilitation, to try to rehabilitate a criminal. Not so much these days. It's more of like a puppy mill for cheap labor and exploitation.
Or to
So
protect the public. But we've got people who are, again, they're in jail. They're being held because they couldn't afford bail.
right,
And they're coming out, and there's going to be an even bigger problem when they get out, and it's not protecting the public. So it's
right.
a real concern. Yeah.
Yeah, when you make the problem worse, you're actually detrimental to the public rather than protecting them from the dangerous criminals. So yeah, so that was our recurring tie. Guess what? We
Yeah.
got clowns
Oh
to the
Lord,
left of
we
me,
got the
jokers to the right.
clownfish school.
Here we are stuck in the middle with you. This is a fun one.
Oh, this
Uh
was just okay. So what happened is in a neighborhood of Chicago, Old Irving Park, where I used to live. Really nice neighborhood. There was the ICE decided to show up and try to kidnap some people off the street just before a Halloween parade, a children's Halloween parade. So what did they do? They tear gassed the neighborhood
yeah, you see it right here.
before a bunch of children were heading on out. And I mean, even Fox News wasn't happy about this. And granted, Fox in Chicago is a little bit different. But this is going on in a neighborhood street. And I want to make something clear here. Chicago has very clear demarcations between business and commercial districts and residential streets. And this is particularly true on these North Side neighborhoods, particularly, and also Old Irving Park, which was never supposed to be part of Chicago. It was supposed to be its own separate suburb. They were advertising it as a country home 15 minutes from the city back when it first started. So they have the building codes were different. There's the lot sizes are larger. The houses are a lot nicer. And for them to do this on a residential street, there are no businesses. There aren't places for people to run into to get away from that. This is a residential street that they decided to smoke up with tear gas before a bunch of kids went out in their little costumes with their little pumpkins. And then, of course, we had these morons who decided to comment on it and who said, well, if people should just obey the law and this wouldn't happen.
Yeah, that was the thing. People were obeying the law, and they still did this bullshit. They
Yeah.
deployed tear gas and disrupting a community parade, Halloween parade. Witnesses say Customs and Border Protection officers tackled and detained an undocumented man working nearby, then used chemical agents as neighbors and protesters confronted them. Not
With
not
whistles.
physically,
No,
with
they were
whistles.
blowing their whistle because we can't use the phones anymore because Apple has succumbed to not having the app, the reporting apps. So people are
Right.
using whistles.
Yeah. Former prosecutor Brian Culps, who saw the incident unfold in his front yard, says a 70-year-old neighbor was also detained, and that a law firm is preparing a lawsuit against the federal government. And that's what Trump is doing with ICE. He's letting them do whatever they want, and then they're not going to be stopped until a court says so. Right? So they're putting the onus back on these people to have to go to court to fight these things, to make these lawsuits. And depending on the judge that you have in that district, it could be a Obama judge, it could be a Biden judge, it could be a Trump judge, and it's kind of a crapshoot there. The man had been working on a nearby home when federal agents chased him down and took him into custody in the 3700 block of North Kildare. His brother said he is an undocumented immigrant who came to the U.S. with his family when he was 4 years old. Within moments, angry neighbors poured out of their homes, joining protesters, blowing whistles. Those whistles, they're so deadly, who had been on patrol looking for federal agents. As the angry residents shouted, the federal agents began lobbing tear gas around 9:50 a.m., just minutes before the scheduled start of an annual Halloween parade organized by the Old Irving Park Association, right? And there's the 70-year-old neighbor was taken into custody. After about a half hour, the agents got in their cars and drove away. The Halloween party was held, but neighbors say many people stayed home. So
at just the time when we need to get to know our neighbors. Again, this was a community event where people are seeing each other, they're interacting with their neighbors, and that is being targeted by these events that keeps, and so people are going to stay inside, be even more isolated, not know their neighbors, which is all to the good, or all to the benefit, I should say, of ICE.
Right. And this is so this is part of the clownfish.
Yeah.
This is Craig Halbert.
Yeah.
On the social media said, if members of the public allowed federal authorities to do their jobs without interference, deploying tear gas wouldn't be necessary. What, did they had to deploy tear gas with people blowing whistles? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
These mooks, I swear. Protesting and interfering with enforcement operations isn't going to prevent federal law enforcement from doing its job. The place to contest law enforcement actions is the court, not on the streets. Yeah, that's what they want. And then this person says, Craig Halbert, whistles and shouting are not interfering. They're standing up for their neighbors. That these guys are so delicate that they have to shove people and then throw a chemical agent into the crowd where there are children walking down the sidewalk in their neighborhood to go to a Halloween party. Then they shouldn't be in law enforcement, much less carry a lethal weapon. They are too unstable to handle it safely. Exactly. And uninformed people that just go along with the line, that we've been propagandized about the police for so long, how they're supposed to be protecting our neighborhoods and stuff, when in reality, I mean, maybe that was the case long ago when the cops actually came from those neighborhoods. Maybe that was the case then, but now you're seeing, like in large cities, I know this happened in New York. You had you had cops that were coming, like New York City police officers in the neighborhoods in the 5 boroughs. They would be coming out from Long Island or New Jersey or something like that. Had no idea, didn't know anything about those neighborhoods, and were just cracking heads. This was during stop and frisk when that was going on, and I'm pretty sure that's what's happening in all these big cities. Is you have out cops that don't live in these neighborhoods coming in, who don't know any of the people there, and just start doing this stuff willy-nilly till, you got to lawyer up. And that's what they're doing. They're doing this till you lawyer up and clogging the court system with that nonsense. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible. It is terrible. It is very disturbing. The utter lack of concern for human life in this case. And I said, I lived right in that neighborhood. I know that neighborhood. I know those streets. I know those people. I know those homes. And it is incredibly disturbing.
Using chemical agents on people,
and then defending it and saying, well, they shouldn't have tried to interfere. Well, first of all, if somebody tries to interfere, the amount of force you use has to be proportional. In this case, it was a bunch of neighbors blowing their whistles and getting their eyes on what was happening. And honestly, if you are in so-called law enforcement, in this case, I'm using that term very loosely when it comes to ICE, and you're in public streets in broad daylight, you have to expect there to be eyes on you.
Yeah.
That is
the cameras. Good. Yeah, the cameras all over the place. You see what happened in London. London, there's just cameras everywhere. And that's what's that you're seeing that in New York too. And now you're going to see in all these big cities and probably coming to smaller towns near you. The same people, some of these police departments that have tanks for a community that may have like just a handful of thousands of people in those communities. Why you need a tank for these people? You don't need them. Yeah. So clownfish,
Yeah.
clowns to the left of us, jokers to the right. But fortunately, Lainey, we've got some fun stuff.
We do.
To end the show.
Oh.
AI to the rescue? No, not necessarily.
This is just funny.
At least it's going to make us laugh. Let's make sure this is. There we go. Okay. So let's check this out.
So there was this governor's race going on, and with apparently one of the people did not show up for the for the debate. So I think it was the Republican chose to debate an AI of the opponent. The audio's not working.
You can't hear that?
No. People in chat are saying the same thing.
I can hear you. Can you hear it?
I cannot hear it.
You can't hear it either?
Nope.
Weird. Hold on a second.
Hang on, folks.
Make sure this may be a StreamYard bugaboo because everything's unmuted.
Just to basically explain what was going on. So the guy decided to hold a debate with an AI of his opponent, and they used AI to pull out her opinions that she might have had and debated an AI. And I think there's a video of it someplace. It's actually quite amusing. I'm beginning to wonder. Actually, one of the things I am wondering about is eventually is that going to be kind of used as some kind of a predictive modeling when it comes to selecting candidates for office?
Yeah, it's
yeah.
No, it's well, you still can't hear that.
Nope, still can't hear it.
Well, we'll just have to watch the video then, because I can hear it on this end. I don't know what, and it's not muted or anything. So I mean, it's muted now, but this looks like the AI debate that they're talking about here with the. So this is the like she was the one that they used AI, I guess, to make her speech here. So reducing carbon emissions. Yeah, it just goes to show you that. And I was talking to a friend yesterday about this, that pretty soon you're not going to be able to have video or audio examples admissible in court, because the AI is going to be so good they're not going to do it. Yeah, so, and I could see that in debates too, where they're just like, oh, you're not going to debate me, we'll just stick an AI up there and let's see. And some people won't know. They'll think that that's actually the person debating them. So more confusion for everyone. Yay!
What would be cool is if we started having more public debates where the people actually showed up to these things. Of course, if people are afraid of being kidnapped by ICE, that may not happen so easily. But I would love to see. Okay, fine. You're running people for office. You have them, and not just in government halls, but maybe going into bars. Going into bars, going into shops, bookstores, and having these debates take place right there. They're not just campaign events for one person. We're going to bring people in to various places and have them debate in person. In part because you want to meet these individuals, which I think is going to be good. But and people aren't trusting what they're seeing on video or audio, um, that may be the way to do things, get people out in public again.
Yes, indeed. It may be so. I don't know. Just hold on, folks. Just try not to let these times make you crazy about things. So, and especially if you throw confusing AI stuff into the mix, that's not usually something that you want to deal with ourselves. So we have a programming note. So we were going to have this tonight, but we had a lot of information that we're still going through, so we're postponing it until next week. It'll be November 5th at 8:30 p.m. It's Chicago Corner Sets the Record Straight, and they'll get their chance to tell their side of the story. We're doing it live, and so that'll give you an opportunity to ask questions in the chat if you have any. So tonight is going to be Justice for Aspen, I believe, on INN's network. They're doing a fundraiser for her. I highly suggest that you check that out, donate to them. She was arrested in Georgia as she was a passenger in a vehicle with someone who had drugs in the car, and Georgia is just kind of a crazy place when it comes to drug laws. So not only was the driver arrested, she was arrested as well. So she needs all your legal help for that. So hopefully her mess gets taken care of soon. So, but a lot of people just falling into the wrong place, wrong time kind of situations,
Agreed. And again, it's you would think in a decent society we would want to limit the number of people that we arrest and incarcerate, but laws have been created to make it easier to arrest and incarcerate people, and getting more people caught up in that web. Somebody's profiting.
All right. Well, that's it for us today. What you got coming up
today,
or just in the future till next week?
I've been looking a lot more into what's going on with the NPR thing. There's a deep dive there, and this is going to have a significant impact on public media here in the U.S. And I want to go into some of the players here, and it's being played or spun in one direction. But I think that there's another direction that those of us who are part of the independent media ecosystem need to be paying attention to. There could be some good things coming out of this, what we're going to have to see. And of course, we're going to be keeping up to date. This weekend is when we go over the cliff with the food stamp benefits. So we're going to be needing to look at that and see what happens. I think people are already putting out a video of riots at grocery stores on social media that are either AI or old clips. And this is happening a lot. People are grabbing clips of events that took place years ago and representing them as happening now. And again, one of the problems, you don't even need AI for that, Uncle Warren.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about that and keeping our eye on all of these events. And of course, the aftermath of Melissa, and we'll see what happens. And thank you all so much for being here. Nearly, the medical community is trying to draw a connection between autism and drug use abuse. We should push back on that science. Being as somebody who has been diagnosed on the autistic spectrum, I actually went through a whole thing at University of Illinois of Chicago with multiple tests and that sort of thing. I wholeheartedly concur. So that's something for me to look at, and thank you for that. And guys, again, we're here to serve you. We do what we can with what limited resources we have, but that kind of a suggestion really helps. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm going to go with that because it impacts me.
Right on. I'm going to be back on Friday morning, probably giving you an update on Hurricane Melissa and the damage it's done. It's getting ready to preview what's going to be happening past November 1st with the government shutdown going into its over a month. As we get towards the weekend. Also on Friday night, if you guys aren't doing anything, we're I believe it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern I'll be doing movie night. It'll be actually it's Halloween movie night, the second one with Night of the Living Dead. It should be fun. We did Nosferatu last year. That was fun. We always have a good time with that. And don't forget Secret Show on 11 p.m. Eastern, or 11 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. That's it for me as far as my stuff coming up. And then yes, getting ready for the show next week with Chicago Corner as well. So thanks everybody for coming out and hanging out with us. We appreciate it. And hopefully there was news you could use. And that's what we're trying to do. Like Lainey said, we're trying to help people. We're trying to get them informed, give them the good stuff that you can actually use to make your lives better. All right. Well,
all right.
Y'all have a great day. Stay frosty, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
All right. Take care.